Hi everybody, welcome to our training session today. Today we're talking about how you can use Pressbooks Results with courses in the Canvas learning management system. If you're new to Pressbooks Results or using it for the first time, what it allows you to do is to take a Pressbooks chapter, embed automatically graded H5P quizzes and other activities, and then configure the entire chapter for grading, bring it into your learning management system, assign it to students, and have their results automatically go to the gradebook as an aggregate score. And then we have something called the Pressbooks Results Viewer, where you and they can see the details of their responses to individual questions and get a sense for how students are doing on the formative assessments that are used in Pressbooks. So what I'll be covering today is how you can do this process from end to end in Canvas. Our goal is to make this as smooth and simple for instructors to do this as possible. So that's the goal of the training. And hopefully you'll find that in just 15, 20 minutes, you'll be able to understand the basics and be able to use this if this is of interest to you in your course. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And if you'd like to follow along, you can all do this. We're going to begin in Pressbooks. So I've come to a Pressbooks book, and this is the dashboard that an instructor might see. So here in my book, I can see that I have content in the book by going to the Organize tab on the left. And I've preloaded this book with a bunch of different chapters that already have content in them. And in this chapter, you can see I've got some publication history, and then I've already inserted H5P activities. If you're not familiar with H5P yet, it's a plugin that can be activated in your book. And then you can come down to the H5P menu in the left and add new menu or add new items or create them. If you've, let's say, I come down the bottom of the chapter and I wanted to add this activity, let's say it wasn't in the chapter, you can always add existing H5P by clicking the Add H5P button at the top and then finding the H5P activity that you want to insert. So here I've inserted the new activity. So let's save and then preview and make sure my chapter is looking the way that I want it to look. So once you've got your chapter kind of configured, you'll look and say, okay, I've got my publication history, I have a true false quiz, I have the poem, I have a post-poem, two post-poem quizzes, and then I have them read another kind of pre-publication thing, another poem, I have them listen to some audio, watch some video, multiple choice question, and finally I end with the reflective essay. So this is a pretty substantial literature assignment with multiple different assessments in it. If Pressbooks Results is active on your network, when you're editing, you can come down just below the editor and you'll see a box that says LMS grade reporting. And this is the first and really only thing that you have to do in Pressbooks to configure your content for grading. So I haven't selected any of these assessments to include in my grade report. And what I'll do is I'll just select all of them. Each of these are automatically gradable activities. One's a true-false question, one's a fill in the blanks, two are question sets, and one's an essay. If you're using H5P and Pressbooks Results, you'll see this, and this is what you'll want to choose. You'll want to select all of the activities for grading. You could select just some of them, but on my experience, that's often confusing for students because they don't know which ones will be included in the grade report. So unless you have a really good reason, our recommendation is include all of them in the grade report. And if you don't, make it very clear to students at the top of the chapter and in the instructions, only quizzes 1, 2, and 3 count for a grade or whatever. The other thing that you want to select is your grading scheme. Again, I think consistency is the key here. We're going to be doing multiple chapters that are going to be graded. And so we want to pick a grading scheme that can be used throughout the book. The first option is called first attempt. First attempt means when a student takes this true-false quiz, the first time they take it, their score will be recorded. The first time they take this, the score, the first time they take each of the activities, their first score will be the one that counts. We'll aggregate those together, average them, and send it to the gradebook. They can retake it as many times as they want, but it's their first attempt that goes to the gradebook, and they can't improve the score. But this is a little bit more of like a high stakes mode of assessment. It means their first attempt is the one that goes to the gradebook. Average attempt means the average of all their attempts on this question plus the average of all their attempts on this question, etc. We take the average for each individual question, average them together, and send that to the gradebook. And that means that if they take it multiple times, their score will be averaged, but it will also use the first attempt, the second attempt, the third attempt. All of those scores will be included in the calculation. And then the third option is best attempt. And this just means you can take each of these as many times as the instructor allows you to, and we'll take your best score on this one, your best score on this. So you can take it until you get it right and get full points. So I usually choose average or best depending on my pedagogical goals, but in this case, I'm going to pick best attempt and I'm going to click save. So that's it. That chapter's been configured for grading. What I'll do now is I'll go to my next chapter and make sure that that one's also configured for grading. So this is a language example where I'm teaching Portuguese, and I've got a bunch of questions here. I'm just going to select all, and in this case, I'll say average attempt, just for demo purposes. If I were doing this in a real course, I'd pick the same one each time. We'll come down to the next chapter, and we'll select all, we'll click best attempt, and we'll click save. And was there one more chapter? I can't remember. Oh yeah, there's also a chemistry example. That's a big chapter. I can see there's 3 fill in the blanks and 1 multiple choice. Let's select all, and we'll also do average attempt here. So I've now configured 4 chapters for grading. And this is really what you'll want to do or need to do in Pressbooks. The next thing I'll do now is I'll go to my Canvas course. And I have a demo course set up here. In your case, you'll probably have modules. Many people use modules. I've already made a course introduction. There's a Canvas page. There's a how-to section that has a discussion forum. I have 2 written assignments throughout the year that I'm going to ask students to do, 2 writing assignments. And I have a final reflection discussion forum. So you can see I've built out a bunch of elements with the existing Canvas tools. And now I'd like to add all of my readings from Pressbooks, including graded assignments. So the first thing I'll do is I'll pick the module I want them to go in, and I'll say graded activities. And from this menu, I'm going to select the external tool option, and I'll find the option that says Pressbooks Content Selector. This is the LTI deep linking tool that Pressbooks provides. When you click this link, you will see all of the content on your Pressbooks network that you have access to. Because we're doing grades, we want to add the Pressbooks Results Viewer. And I also know that this book that I set up is the Pressbooks Results Demo book. I have a lot of stuff to scroll through because I do this demo a lot, but if in your case, you'll probably only see 1 or 2 books. And here we'll see, this is that book that I was just configuring. I can decide to bring in everything from this book as links, or I can select items one at a time. You'll notice there's 2 different types of links that Pressbooks can bring in. One is called a linked resource. This means it's Pressbooks content, but it is not configured for grading. So it will not send a grade to the gradebook, and it won't automatically create a Canvas assignment. These 4 are the ones that you saw me configure for grading. So each of these will be brought in automatically as a graded Canvas assignment. I'm just going to add that extra chapter here just for fun. So I've got 6 pieces of content I want to bring in. Now I click Select Content. And Pressbooks says, okay, I'm going to talk to that book and I will find those links, and I've brought them all in. So I'll move this chapter up. Let me see if I can drag. I got to drag this button and bring it up here, put it in this module. I might have this how to use section here up in this module. And these other ones are all going to be graded assignments. Here's the results viewer, so I'll put that up here in this module. And then I'm going to just publish these activities. You'll notice when Pressbooks brought these in, they were brought in as assignments, and their default point value is 10 points. So if I want to change that, for this activity, I want this to be worth 20 points. Click the item and then click Edit Assignment Settings. And here I can give students instructions in Canvas if I want. I can change the point value. If you use assignment groups, you can put it in its own group. You can choose how the grade is going to be displayed and whether it counts towards the final grade or not. Don't change submission type or submission attempts. Those should be left the same, but you can choose who this is assigned to, and you can choose a due date. So I'm going to say this is due at the end of August, and I'll save that. So that activity's just been edited to be worth 20 points. My recommendation is if you're going to change the configuration, do it before the students start taking the assessment, because once they've started taking it, changing the settings will not be good. It's like a quiz. Imagine, think of it like a quiz. This lesson language one, I want to make worth 30 points, so I'll change that one as well. Let's just change the point value, and we'll make this one do in September. And we'll save that. And then the last one I want to do is the skin one. I'll make that worth 20 points as well. Now, if I go back to modules, you'll see I have some links to Pressbooks content. I've included the Pressbooks Results Viewer, and I've included a native Canvas assignment as well as 4 graded Pressbooks chapters. That's how you bring content in and how you can configure it in the LMS. What questions do people have so far about how to import content or configure graded assignments?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So you said not to change the submission type or submission attempts here in Canvas.
That's right.
Is that because you are saying to make those configuration details happen within Pressbooks?
Yes and no. So let me just show you what these settings are. So it makes a bit more sense. So when you're configuring submission type, this is telling Canvas you have to use the external tool. So that's saying this is the link to the Pressbooks chapter. If you change that, it will break. Like it won't know which Pressbooks chapter. The submission attempts, Canvas doesn't know how to count attempts made on external tools very well. So for example, if you take an H5P activity and you do it once and then retry it and do it again and retry it, each individual retry, Canvas will think of that as an individual attempt. So every time they submit a single question, the grade's being updated. And so setting a limited attempt, this won't function the way that you think it functions. It's not the number of launches. It's literally like each time they do a question. So that's going to lead to really frustrating results for the student. If you want to limit whether students can retry or not, it's best to do that at the level of the H5P activity.
Got it.
So
Got it.
H5P gives you the retry button. You can say, I don't want them to be able to retry this. Take the retry button away, and then they would have to relaunch the activity to get it to reset. Canvas knows much better what attempts look like when it's one of their tools, but when it's an external tool, every time a student completes any one of the individual H5P activities, that will cause us to reevaluate the score and potentially update it in the LMS. And so Canvas is like, each one of those is a micro attempt, which Canvas counts as a full attempt. So that's why that happens. Yeah. Great
Thank you.
question. What I'm going to do now is I want to preview this. So I need to make sure the course is published and that the content is visible. And now I'm going to go into the student view and you'll be able to see what this looks like to a student taking this course. So they'll see there's an introduction. This is instructions for how to use the course. Okay, great. Let's go next. This was published in Pressbooks. So this is Pressbooks content, but you'll notice there's no grade associated. They're just reading the content. If I want more room, I can always click this full screen button and jump back out. Students can do this on mobile devices. They can do it in the Canvas app. They can do this wherever they want, but this is what the Pressbooks LTI integration will look like. Let me actually jump to the module that has the assessments because that's what we really care about. So let's jump and do this literature one first. So I'm a student and I'm launching this for the first time. I can see that it's due August 29th and it's worth 20 points. So I'll go ahead and make it full screen so I can focus. I will say, great, I got that one correct. Let's say this is the soft people. Here's a hint. Oh, it's Capitals Madison. Oh, it's not Minnesota, it's Wisconsin. And then I'll guess this for the first question. I missed that one. I'll move on to the next part and I'll say false. I missed that one. This case, I could retry it right away, but I'm not going to. I'll say true. I missed that one. And then I'm matching the end words and I'll check that. It's important that if in these multi-part activities, there is a finish button. A student has to click finish in order to see and submit the score for that individual aggregate activity. So if students don't see that or you don't see that, point that out and let them know they need to press that finish button. And then I'll scroll down, I'll skip the video and audio, but I'll go ahead and take this quiz. I did badly on that, did okay on that, and I did badly on that. And I'm going to click the finish button. And finally, okay. I got some automated feedback because I had the word history and I had the word land in there. I got 2 out of 3 on that essay. And then here's some notes that I've added as the automatic rubric. So on this exam, you can see I scored 2 out of 3, 1 out of 4. So I'm getting 3 out of 7 so far. I think I got 4 out of 7. That's 7 out of 14. Okay, I got 12 out of 19, 13 out of 20 is what I scored, I think, on this. If I go into the grades now, we'll see that was out of 20 points. I got a 13 out of 20. And I could say, "Hey, that wasn't the score I was looking for. I'd like to retry it." Or both I and the student can now go into the Pressbooks Results Viewer, and we can see how did I do on the available activities. So right now, any activities that have been attempted or launched will show up here, but I will see a drill down here, and I can see for this activity, it's 20 points, and it's showing my best attempt. And the first quiz was the true false quiz. And on this true false, what did I do? Okay, so on August 18th at 10:20, I answered false. That was correct. I don't have any other attempts. And I can see how I did. If I want to really focus, I really need to do better on that Black Hawk question set. I only got 4 out of 7, and the foreclosure quiz. So I'm going to go back, and I'm not going to redo the whole activity. I'm just going to reattempt those two. I don't have to do the whole thing. I'm just going to reattempt the ones I didn't do well on. So I'll come back to assignments, relaunch this one. Let's do this quiz. Better on that. That's the correct answer. And then I'll do the rhyme words. So this time I scored a 7 out of 7, so my score should improve. We'll see my grade should have been updated. I now have a 16 out of 20, and my grade's been automatically updated. And when I go into the viewer, and the details have changed for me. I now got a 7 out of 7, and I can see past attempts. My first attempt, I got a 4 out of 7. Now I have a 7 out of 7. And because my grade is best attempt, it will show the best attempt when I view this grade viewer. As an instructor, you'll be able to see everybody in the course. As a student, they'll only be able to see themselves. If I leave the student view, you'll notice in your results viewer, there's a couple of extra things that you have that are available. One is you have the ability to search across your students' names. And if you have students that are telling you that the grades aren't showing up right or they have a grade problem, you can click this report grading issue button, and there's a little form where you can tell us the problem in the student, and we can look at the database and investigate. So far, we've seen very, very few reports of grading issues. The most common ones are students forgetting to press the finish button. And so you'll usually know because they'll have a blank or a 0 for the score. And both you and they can see which ones they've completed and which ones they haven't from this view. Okay, so I think as promised, in under half an hour, that's the full tour of configuring and using Pressbooks results in Canvas for the first time. A couple of notes that I'll just mention. Pressbooks Results is designed to be a tool for formative assessment generally. If you're trying to do high-stakes quizzing or an exam that's worth a lot of points, generally we recommend using your LMS built-in quizzing tool. And think about Pressbooks Results as a way for students to check their understanding, to do practice, and to get immediate real-time feedback. So when you're designing and building H5P activities, I think giving them the option to retry and to practice is good. I don't like to show answer personally. I think it makes it a little too easy if they can retry. So you can decide whether you want that setting on or off. And I also like to use best attempt or average attempt personally, so that it's essentially like a completion score. Both you and they see I did the activity. And when you pre-program the activity, choosing to give meaningful feedback is a really helpful idea as well. So if you saw in that literature example, I was asking a question, and based on their answer, I was showing feedback. If it was incorrect, I told them one thing, you want to reread and study this. If it was correct, I reinforced and said, great, that's correct. And then maybe add a little bit of more teaching to kind of cement that knowledge in their mind. We hope that you have a good experience using this. We're excited to see how it impacts learning. If you have any questions for me or for us about what this might look like in your course, your discipline, I have a few minutes. I can stay here and answer them. I'm going to turn the recording off now. Thanks for your time and good luck this term.